All right, guys, we're going to get started here. All right, so we are going to go over the situation if you don't have enough money to pay for long-term care and how you can get government assistance and where the government comes in and helps you out. My name is Taylor Willingham. I am an elder law attorney. This is what we do all day long, and I have some people from my staff here that they do it all the time. I wrote a book on this subject. It's called Helping Your Parents with Long-Term Care, because usually my experience is it's a daughter helping out their mother with long-term care situation. So first, go ahead and go to the next slide. Go to the next one. So we're going to go over basically three main areas: Medicare and how Medicare comes in and what Medicare will pay for when it comes to a long-term care situation. Long-term care Medicaid. Long-term care Medicaid is when you're impoverished. So Medicare you pay for, well, that comes out of your check. Medicaid is when you run out of money. It's a social program. It's an entitlement-based program to help you out through the process. And then we're going to talk about VA benefits. Actually, I switched these two because the VA is pretty straightforward. There's some tricks I want to teach you about the VA, how to do it, but it's long-term Medicaid that's the real difficult program. That's the one where the government rejects us all the time here in Texas. No one can figure out why they're rejecting. But these are the things. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, I want to talk about a huge problem that we don't really realize what's about to happen in this country. Yeah, so look at these two charts. This is what our population distribution looked like in the 1960s and pretty much throughout human history. This is going to be the distribution in 2060. As you can see, there's going to be just as many elderly people as there's going to be working class people. So this group is our working class. These people are living off the working class. These people are living off the working class. And so we're going to have a huge problem because we don't have enough people working to pay for everything. So to give you guys kind of an understanding where we are right now in the situation, go to the next slide. This is kind of a U.S. population map right now. As you can see, the silent generation, there's basically about 1 out of every 3 that's the baby boomers. Baby boomers are the largest generation by far. And that's even when a significant portion have started passing away. All right? As you can see, the decline that happens around 60 in people alive. Then we have these two generations right now that are supposed to be the ones working and really paying for everything. And then we have Generation Z that's still little kids. So by far our population is going to be baby boomers. And baby boomers right now are ages 55 to 75. Now, if you're 65 years or older, there's about a 5% chance you're in a nursing home right now. If you're 95 and older, there's a 50% chance you're in a nursing home. So right now we're at the age of 75 with baby boomers. Over the next 20 years, we're going to see a significant increase in the amount of people that are going to need to go to nursing homes. Now the problem is they're already filling up. And investors really don't like the idea of investing in nursing homes right now. Why? Because you basically have a 20-year window to make money and you have high liability. Nursing homes consistently have to be staffed by people and it's a difficult job. Anybody ever worked in a nursing home? It is a difficult job, right? People don't stay there very long unless you really, really love it. And it's hard to get people there. And so usually you don't get help that you need. And the liability of running a nursing home is really high. So we have a huge problem that's going to hit us is investors are unwilling to invest in nursing homes and they're filling up. So what are we going to do with the populations we come through? So sitting down and making a plan for yourself, especially if you're baby boomer generation, you want to really think about that. Because if you're going to go, well, I'll just rely on the government. Now, there's something else also that becomes a difficulty in preparing for long-term care situations. About 1/3 of our population can never earn enough money to pay for long-term care. Now, that might be that you just have a job, that you've chosen a field that you just don't make a lot of money in, and there's just no way you can save for it. We have about 1/3 that kind of can prepare for it. They can save a little bit for it. And then There's a top third who can really save for their long-term care situation. If you're in that top third, I would start doing it. Because if you're in the baby boomer generation, I would not want to rely upon. Now, I've talked to a lot of people about this. Like, well, what could you do? Let's say you're in the bottom third. There's no way you can save enough money to get long-term care. Well, sometimes you have to think outside of the box. And so I had one lady come to me, and I was talking to her about long-term care. She goes, oh, that's not a problem. I'm like, well, why is it not a problem? She goes, I'm half Filipino. And she goes, I'll just go live in the Philippines. He goes, my Social Security check will cover a full-time nurse. And I'm like, now that's thinking outside the box. She really came up with a plan. She knew exactly what to do. If she was ever going to end up in a long-term care situation, she was getting on the plane, she was going to go live on the beach for the rest of her life. So there are ideas out there that if you really sat down and thought about it, you don't necessarily have to rely on the government. You could figure out a way to get around it. If you really want to put, there's places you go in Mexico, there's different places and different ideas that you could do. So I want you to always think about that maybe I don't want to go into a nursing facility or get on a government program. But we're going to talk about other ideas, maybe having someone stay home and take care of you and how your family can get paid for that. So let's go to the next slide. Medicare. So Medicare is not supposed to pay for long-term care. It's health insurance, not long-term care insurance, okay? So the first program that was put into place was Part A. Part A was the initial program. It was the idea of, oh, well, if you go to the hospital, this was back in the 1950s, when someone gets sick, they go to the hospital. You can pay for your own doctor. That's not a problem. So Part A was the first part of it. You paid for it. There's no extra co-pays that you have to pay. Then we have Part B. It costs you $135.50 a month to have. Everybody that's on Medicare knows this. They take it out of your check, okay? And the reason why is because it wasn't originally from the original first part. Part C, I don't know much about Part C because it's not really, it's supposed to be like a way to purchase insurance. Part D, though, is an incredibly important part. This was added in the 2000s, is to help pay for prescription drug costs. Once again, this is kind of like an add-on. It wasn't really paid for. So they take out a monthly amount, $32.50, and you have a $250 deductible. Okay? And then we have the Medigaps, which I'm going to introduce you guys to Wendell here in a little bit. He's a financial advisor that deals with Medigap and different programs, supplemental insurance policies. Okay? Go to the next slide. All right. Eligibility requirement to get on Medicare. You have to be over 65, right? We all know that. You had to earn at least 40 credits, meaning you had to work 10 years. Okay? This is something that we've run into some people, or you're going to have to buy into the program. So if you never worked for 10 years, I would get my 10 years mark and make sure I earned enough. SSDI. So now it takes 24 months to get on. So if you run into the situation that you're under 65 and you become permanently disabled, we allow you to get your Social Security early. So if it looks like your life expectancy isn't going to be that long, we're going to let you on to Social Security early, but they're going to make you wait 24 months to qualify for Medicare. So if you have a disabled child that's under 65 and they need to get on this program, that's basic understanding of how you get on. So you don't have to be 65 years old to get on Medicare. But if you want to get it through SSDI. Now, you can voluntarily purchase it too. So some people that didn't earn their 10 years, they can pay $437 a month and pay into Medicare every month. I have a lot of clients like this that, maybe they immigrated here much older and you can't get health insurance if you're over 65. No one's going to give it to you. So they can go in and purchase it voluntarily. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, Medicare Part A. So one of the problems that I run into all the time are my clients come to me and the situation arises that mom or dad looks like they're going to be in a nursing home for the rest of their life, but they're in the hospital right now. And so running into the situation that, hey, how much is Medicare going to pay for? Or how long is Medicare going to pay for? Because they're not going to pay indefinitely in a nursing home. So one reason we do living wills. Everybody know what a living will is? Saying, hey, if there's nothing you can do, just let me pass away. Don't keep me on machines. Well, one of the reasons we do that is because Medicare or your health insurance stops paying, and then you have to pay out of your own pocket. So the idea is you want to save your loved ones from having to pay for that. Okay, so it covers what they call spell of illness. Okay, so if you go into the hospital for one reason, and then 3 days later have to go back to the hospital, they don't go, oh, well, this is all one thing. It's every single time you go in a different reason, the clock starts over. Okay, so through the first 60 days, it's kind of paid for. There's some parts that are not paid for, but most of it's paid for. You have a deductible if you end up in the hospital of $1,364, and then $341 per day copayment after 61 days. So you can start seeing it gets really, really expensive to be in a hospital for a long period of time. And that's what Medicare is going to cover. So go to the next slide. All right. There are different rules if Medicare's paying and you're in a nursing facility. So you're not in a hospital. You might be in a hospital, but in their nursing care part of it. And they'll have totally different rules that apply. They only pay up to 21 days, and then you have a copay of $170. See how all of a sudden it gets really confusing when you're in these situations, because you're like, well, they told me they were going to pay up to 60 days. Now they're telling me they're only paying for 20 days. I don't understand what's going on here. Well, it's because a hospital might have a nursing home wing on it. Okay, and now they've put you in the nursing home part. Okay, they have a bunch of rules about hospice services, physician services, how much they can charge on different things. There's a bunch of different rules. Usually at every hospital there's a social worker that's walking you through and helping you through this process. And you just got to trust them when they're telling you, well, this rule applies to this part, this rule applies, because they want to get paid, the hospital. They're not trying to lie to you. They're not trying to make something up. They want to get paid, so they're trying to make it work out for the best you can. Okay, go to the next part. Part D, okay, this is help pay for your prescription drugs. You have a $415 annual deductible. It covers out of pocket. The most comes out of pocket is $5,100. Now these numbers change every year, of course. They increase. They're trying to think. Now one of the key points here, you have to enroll in certain supplemental policies at certain times. That's what you want to talk to Wendell about. Before you're 65, you got to get the right supplemental policies in place, or you can get penalized. Okay, go to the next slide. All right. So, what if you're low income, though? A lot of people can't afford a lot of these programs. There is assistance with any program that's out there. So if you are below the federal poverty level, you can get help. This is what they consider the federal poverty level in income. If you're a couple, you're making less than $16,460 a year. And it's like, no, that's really, a single person is $12,000, okay? If you want to apply for some extra help, go here, or you just Google, just do drug coverage plan help, or a Medicare drug cover plan help. Just Google that, and it will send you to that link right there, and you can go there and you can apply for it if you need help. Medicare is a lot easier to use than Medicaid, and the reason why is Medicaid is run by each individual state, meaning the state of Texas is the one that runs the program because they have to pay half the bill. Medicare is run by the federal government. They're a lot easier to deal with than the local states, because when the states have to pay money, they're going to try to restrict it as much as they can. So go to the next slide. Okay, what care will they cover? All right, so they pay for acute care. These are the 4 requirements, and you guys, we can send these to you guys if you guys want. We are also filming this, so you guys can watch this online. But the hospital will tell you. A lot of my clients come in and go, the hospital is trying to tell my mom they're not going to pay for her care anymore. And I'm like, yeah, because she no longer needs acute care. The doctor is determined that she doesn't need a hospital service anymore. She needs to go somewhere else, like a nursing home or an assisted living facility. It becomes a very difficult spot to be in. Okay? Now, here's a very key point. If Medicare is going to pay for 100 days into a nursing home, you have to be in the hospital for at least 4 days, or different rules apply. Okay? So a lot of times doctors know these rules, and they'll keep mom or dad or you in the hospital just one more day, because they know if they release you and you go, and then you have to go to a nursing home, Medicare only pays for 20 days. So different rules apply. So if you ever have you or your spouse or your parent is in the hospital, it's day 3, and they're like trying to discharge them, you push for 1 more day. And then you want them to go to the nursing home because Medicare will cover up to 100 days. Okay? All right. Go to the next slide. All right, let's talk about VA benefits first. Okay? So we just went through Medicare. Medicare really isn't a long-term care program. As you can see, there really isn't very much to it. It is meant to be your health insurance. You know, if you end up in a long-term care situation, you only really have 2 programs. VA and Medicaid. That's it. It's only 2 places where you get government assistance. Okay? So VA benefits. What are our requirements here? Okay? Well, there's Aiden Attendance. That's one of the programs that's available to you. And basically, Aiden Attendance or the pension, these are the idea that the military doesn't want anybody who served this country during a wartime to go without. That was the agreement. It actually started with Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln basically said, if you serve this country during a wartime, you, your spouse, nor your disabled child will go without. And so this is when these programs started. They've been around for a long time. It actually was really interesting because it was like 2015, they were still paying for a disabled child in a nursing facility from the Spanish-American War. It was, or actually, I think it was Civil War. Yeah, it was a Civil War. Yeah, it was crazy. So next time the government wants to go to war, think 150 years from now, we could still be paying for that. So going to war is very expensive. So anyway, go to the next slide. Okay. So we have the basic pension, which is where the government actually pays someone who's impoverished. They give you extra money every month. Aiden Attendance, okay, that's paying for either home care or in a nursing home assistance. And then they have housebound for veterans that have over 100% disabled rating. You don't need to be disabled during a wartime to get these programs. You just need to be over, some of them you can get before 65, but most of them you have to be over 65. That's the requirement. Okay? Go to the next one. Well, I guess we'll get here. So you have to be at least 65 years or over. The big one is you had to serve during a wartime. So right here are the war times. You can Google this. If you ever don't know if, did I serve during a wartime? You know, it's like, that's, or your loved one, you're trying to figure out if they did. You can just go online, okay? All right. Now this is the hard one. We have the Gulf War, 1990. The never-ending one. Yeah, they haven't given us, so they kind of consider any time right now. All right. The big thing is the VA really won't help you unless you actually have your paperwork. This is the nightmare situation because all the time people lose the paperwork. And mysteriously, the VA also loses the paperwork. And they don't go, well, since we lost the paperwork, we're just going to say you were honorably discharged. No, they go, well, guess we can't help you. Okay?
Is that like the DD 214?
Yes. Yeah, that's the paperwork that you need to keep.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I served during the 61 through 75 period, but I was not in Vietnam. Do I still qualify?
So you just had to serve. You didn't actually have to be deployed. You have to serve during a wartime, and you have to meet the requirements, like at least 90 days, and you serve at least 1 day during a wartime at the thing below. So but you don't have to be deployed at all. Okay.
Does National Guard count?
Yes, National Guard does count. All right. These are the 9 non-financial requirements. Okay, go to the next one. Okay. This is Aiden Attendance. The veteran must require help with activities of daily living at home, in a nursing home, or assisted living. That's the one big difference between Medicaid and VA program. Medicaid doesn't really pay for an assisted living, any kind of help. But the VA will, okay? The need for the help does not have to be related to their military service. So that's a very key point. Okay, a lot of people think, well, I wasn't disabled during, a wartime. Well, it doesn't matter, okay? But go ahead, go to the next one. Okay, so this is for the homebound program. same thing. You have to have 100% disabled rating. When you apply, they will determine out of the pension, Aiden Attendance, and homebound what you qualify for. Okay, go to the next one.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who determines that your full disability?
The VA will. Okay. Now you'll have to go see a doctor, and there's a form that they fill out. I forgot what the form's called, but they fill out a form and they send it into the VA, and they'll make the determination.
Can you get that form from the VA?
No, I believe your doctor can get that form, or they know what it is. All right. Okay, the marriage rule. Okay, as you notice, spouse also gets these benefits. Okay, so one of the big things is you have to be, when you're a surviving spouse, you can't remarry, and you had to be living with the person at the time that they passed away. So if you were separated or anything like that, then you won't qualify for that benefit. Okay, that's a lot of times why people won't remarry after they were married to a veteran. They don't want to lose the possibility of getting this program. Okay, go to the next one. All right, there are 2 financial requirements to get VA assistance. Okay, income limits and net worth limits, and these changed last year in October. They have totally different rules. So if you knew this stuff before October of last year, there's totally different rules now on how they do this. They kind of have made it more like Medicaid. So let's go to this. Okay, first, we're going to go through the income limits. Okay, if you're a veteran with no dependents, you can't make more than $13,537 a year. Well, there's a way around that, so we'll get to that in just a second. Veterans with a spouse or child, you go up to 17. The surviving spouse is lower, okay? It's a lower amount. Now, Medicaid and VA are very different. With the VA, there's a way to reduce your income. There's like a little strategy you can use. Okay, go to the next one. All right, the income limit. Veterans and their spouses, they combine it together, okay? So, let's use this example. You have a married veteran in 2019 is eligible for $26,765 in pension, okay? If their countable income is $10,000, then they are eligible to receive an additional $16,000 in pension. Does that make sense? So if you only made $10,000 in a year, they're going to help you get up to $26,000. They're going to supplement your income. Okay. However, because the VA allows an applicant to deduct certain expenses and forms of income from their countable income, the applicant's actual income can be considerably higher than their countable income. And we'll get to that in just a second. Let's see if I put it on the next slide. Go to the next slide. Okay. Yes. So this is the example. Okay. Let's say they're making more. Okay. See, a couple had $30,000 and $25,000 in medical-related expenses. So what can they include in medical-related expenses? That's what you have to think. Okay? So one of the things you can include in medical-related expenses is the cost of in-home care. Someone taking care of you. All right? So you can deduct that from your income. That can be a family member. So you can take and pay a family member, as long as you have a caregiver agreement and they're actually doing it, and deduct that from your income. So in this example, they took this down. They're not allowed to take the full amount. They had to take 5% out. So at the end of the day, the VA is going to say they only make $6,338, okay, versus their actual income, which is $30,000. So then they will supplement your income, even though you're giving some of that money to your family member. Now I want to talk about not committing any VA fraud. You can't just pay your family member who actually does nothing for you. You know, if you enter into a family caregiver agreement with a family member, they better be taking care of you. Does that make sense? But there is a way to reduce your income, and this is very commonly used. Okay, go to the next one. Yeah?
Is the Social Security payment that they're receiving included in that base income
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah, it's all income from all sources.
Okay, there was a little, what's that last sentence on that?
Go back.
Prior slide, income from supplemental security income and welfare benefits should not be included as countable income?
Yeah, that's welfare income,
Oh, okay.
not your Social Security.
All right.
Yeah, that makes sense? They're so confusing because they call them all almost the same thing. SSI and SSDI are completely different things, but they're like one letter off from the definition.
What's SSD?
SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance. In other words,
Okay.
you're younger than 65,
All right.
but you're getting your Social Security early.
Right. Okay.
But SSI is a welfare program.
All right.
If it's confusing, it should be, because they should have called them. I remember like learning this like 5 times and going, okay, which one's which? I can never remember which one's which.
So what do they call regular Social Security payments that people receive?
They just call it Social Security.
SS.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
not supplemental Social Security.
All right.
All right. Okay, we got net worth, asset limit, exclusion. So so we had the income limit. Now we have a net worth limit. You can't have too much assets. Like if you have $2 million sitting on the side, the VA is not going to help you. Like spend your own money. Don't come to us and spend our money. So this is assets. Like what do they not include? They don't include a home. They don't include a car, household goods and furnishing, and personal effects. That's kind of their list that they have. So let's go to the next slide. So this is where they've changed stuff. They actually gave us a number now. $123,600 is what they give you in net income. If you're over this amount, they're not going to help you. Net worth. Net worth. So they add up, not including your house, not including your car, not including the other things. Now they are not including those things. So in this situation, though, it's also got to be careful because they add in your yearly income too into the net worth. So if you make $30,000 and you make $120, they're going to say you're worth $150. So you got to be very careful about that. Yeah, I know. That's the dumbest thing I ever. It's like, okay, so my income that I'm supposed to be making this year is my net worth? That doesn't make any sense. But this became effective last year. Okay?
So if you've taken that deduction on your income because you're paying a family member, you make that 30 and you're paying them 20 to take care of you, is your income 10 that they're adding in, or is it all 30?
No, it's going to be all 30 because they're going to start paying you income. Yeah, because they're going to supplement your income what you brought down, so they'll add that back in, but they'll add in what they give you, not what's taken.
Can a caregiver be a spouse?
No, that's also a very important one. Your spouse cannot be your caregiver. They will not include that. They expect the spouse to take care of the other spouse, but your kid can. Okay, next slide. All right. Oh, big warning. There's a lot of VA assistant programs out there. One of the hard parts is the VA does not allow people to get paid for helping you. That's why most attorneys have no idea about any of this stuff, because they can't. We're all the same. We like money, all right? And so when we can't get paid to do something, we don't waste our time learning it, okay? And so that's why I'm really weak when it comes to VA, understanding the VA programs, because I can't charge anybody to do VA planning. It's against the law. So a lot of programs were doing this back in the day because there was no gifting penalty. Last year, they started the gifting penalty. They don't have a 5-year look back like Medicaid does. They have a 3-year look back, okay? So basically, if you give a lot of plans were, what they would do is they go, oh, family care, you need assistance. Give all your money to your daughter, and we'll do a family caregiver agreement for you. You get all the money, and she's paying you, and then you qualify for VA benefits. So they stopped allowing that. They have a 3-year look back now. So if you give away your money, you're going to be penalized, and they'll consider it your assets for the 3 years, okay? Does that make sense? A lot of VA programs that are out there don't know that this rule was changed. And so if anybody's telling you, oh, there's no gifting, and this was kind of deceptive. Like I read a lot of things about VA and Medicaid. It was 2 weeks before I found out they changed the rule. They didn't send out any notification. They just changed the rule. So right now there could be a lot of people out there that just don't know this rule has been changed. Go to the next. Okay, Medicaid long-term care. Now this is the one which affects most people, where most people get help from. Most people can't qualify because they've never served in the military. So this is a program that catches everybody else. And this is also the most confusing program. All right, so Texas Medicaid system. It pays for nursing home care. That's what the federal law was written into, okay? It does not pay for assisted living. However, unless the assisted living facility is certified for these other programs. Now, I just said it only pays for nursing home care. I kind of lied. That's what the law says. But states have realized it's far cheaper to keep mom and dad at home, so they have what are called waiver programs. They waive the requirement to be in a nursing home. That's what a waiver program means. Okay, if you ever hear that term, that's what they're saying. It means the state has come out and said, you know what? We don't want mom to have to go into a nursing home, and if you guys are going to keep her home, mom or dad, I'm always assuming it's just going to be mom, but mom or dad, we're going to waive the requirement to be in a nursing home. But they could always take that away. These are state-based programs, so they could go away. Okay, go to the next slide. All right, Medicaid eligibility requirements. If you have to be a U.S. citizen or be here legally, okay? If you're here illegally, then you can't get on these programs. Residency, this is a big one. You move to a different state, okay? Well, you just need to intend to live in the state. There is no, you don't have to be here for 30 days. But when we apply for Medicaid, if we don't have anything with an address on it, like a piece of mail, they'll deny the application. So you got to have some kind of mail or driver's license that say you live in the state of Texas. But every state has a Medicaid program, so if you live in a different state, you can get on a different program. And a lot of times, it is better to move to a different state because they're not as restrictive as Texas is. Medical necessity. You can't just go one day, I'm done with life. I'm over 65. I'm just going to move into a nursing home and have the government pay for me. I know there's very few people who have ever thought of that as a good idea, but they don't allow that. You have to have a reason why you're in the nursing home, okay? In other words, a doctor has to certify that you need to be there. We have an income limit in the state of Texas, whole United States. It's $2,313 a month. If you make more than $2,313 a month, you are disqualified for Medicaid benefits unless you have a qualified income trust. Now, why in the world? So Texas and 12 other states are the only ones that still follow the income limit rule because it's really a dumb rule. It doesn't really make any sense, okay? Because right now, this is basically saying, well, if you make too much money, then you can't get any assistance unless you go to an attorney and he creates a trust for you. It's like, why in the world have that rule? That's the dumbest rule I've ever heard in my life. And it really is dumb, and most states have figured that out. But Texas, we still follow the law. And how this came about. Back in the 80s, no nursing home cost over $2,000 a month. Well, I mean, you could get one, but the government wasn't going to pay for you to be in that type of facility. All the ones that they were going to pay for charged less than $2,000 a month. So they made an income limit. It made complete sense. And then in the 90s, things started to change. Nursing homes cost more than $2,000 a month. And so Congress panicked, and they put a patch law together. And they said, we'll keep the income limit, but if you create a qualified income trust, then you're okay. And it's like, okay. And they've just never changed it. So it's one of these dumb laws that exists. And if Congress could just get together, they would just get rid of it because it makes no sense anymore. And it causes a lot of grief. Right, Kellyanne?
A whole lot.
Yes. Like today, finding out.
I had a client that made 68 cents above the 2313 cap, and they sent me a letter and denied it for benefits.
I know. Can you believe that? 68 cents and they denied. All right. Oh, can you go back? I want to go back one more because we have one more thing on the last one. Okay. You have a resource limit. You can't have more than $2,000 countable assets. We're going to talk a lot about this because that's ridiculously low. It's been the same since 1980. Oh, so it should be resource. Sorry, countable resources. That was my bad. I was typing this up late at night one night. A Medicaid facility, okay, you can't just go into any facility. It has to be a Medicaid facility or a facility that has a Medicaid bed. And this is what we're having a big problem with right now. Finding a facility that's either a Medicaid facility that isn't full or one that has a Medicaid bed. We have a lot of clients that they run out of money in their facility and it's like, well, now what do we do? The facility's like, well, we don't have a Medicaid bed. And I'm telling the kids, don't go get your mom. If you go pick up mom, then You have to find a place for her. Make them go find a place for her. In nursing homes, I feel bad for them doing this, but it's like, what are we supposed to do? You know, if you don't have a bed there and no one else has a bed, I don't want the child to come take them home. Child takes them home. They don't have the expertise to take care of someone. You know, you don't have medical equipment at the house, so it's becoming a big problem. Now, next slide. We're going still through more and more. Okay, let's go over the resource limit because this is incredibly low. So it's been the same since 1980. You can't have more than $2,000 countable resource. That's an incredibly low amount of money. They're basically saying, hey, well, that's not quite true, okay? An individual is $2,000, all right? An individual count. Married couple, they give you $1,000 though. You can, you know, but that's if both of you are applying to go on into a facility. Now, if you're married, what they call a non-institutionalized spouse, in other words, someone who is not going into the facility, we have what's called the Spousal Protection Resource Amount. That's what SEPR stands for, SPRA, Spousal Protection Resource Amount. In other words, they say you can have the spouse who is living outside of the facility, you get at least $25,000 of countable resources. Note, I keep saying countable resources. They don't count certain things as resources, and we'll get to that in just a minute. They max you out at $126,000. Now the last here, married, one applying, so it's 2,000. So, sorry, this should say married, one applying, but both are in a nursing facility. Now I'm going to show you how really dumb rules are. So, if I have a couple that are both in a nursing home, I can give all the money to one spouse. I could give $10 million to one spouse. And the other spouse completely impoverish them. And the government will say, well, the one can only have $2,000 countable asset. But the other one, because they are not considered to be a part of the same household, can have unlimited resources. Isn't that like the craziest thing you ever thought? Like, okay, one person can have $10 million. The other one, we literally just gifted it all to the other spouse. And the other one, the government's paying for the other one's care. But they allow it. That's how the rule is written. Okay? All right. So that's just a weird, like a loophole in the law. All right, go to the next one. Okay. This is so important. We can't stress this enough. Kellyanne would probably lose her mind at least once a day because someone doesn't understand this. When do they count the resources? So, technically, you can go over the $2,000 a month in countable resources. You could receive $50,000. They don't care. They look at your assets one time a month. That's at 12:01 a.m. on the first day of each month. Okay? So you can go up over $2,000 of countable resources, but as long as it needs to go below that amount on the first of every month. How many times do we have to explain this to our clients? I can't tell you. I repeat it over and over and over again. First day of the month, you need to pay all the nursing home bills. They will deny your parent benefits if you don't pay the nursing home on time. If you send them a check and they don't cash the check by that time period, they will deny you Medicaid benefits. They don't care. They follow the rules, and that's the government's job. These are the rules. They are to follow the rules. They're not to try to help you through this process. In the state of Texas, that's the way they look at it. If you violate, you're one penny over, right? We have 68 cents, but we've had people over the resource amount like $1. We had a daughter every month just not calculating it right because she thought it was a good idea to have multiple accounts and didn't add them up right. And she was going $1 over every month, and they were denying them. And we couldn't figure out why. And then she told, well, I have this other account that has, a couple $100 a month money. And I go, well, when you add all them up, it's over $2,000. So that's why they're denying her. Okay?
So it's what's in the actual account at that time.
Accounts, all resources that are counted. I'll get to what is counted, what is not. But yeah, most of the time when we have a person in the facility, all they have is cash and accounts. So we usually tell our clients, put everything in one account. Don't have multiple accounts. Because you never want to be sitting there going, okay, what's in this account, what's in this account? We usually tell them, spend way below the $2,000 every month. Get down to like $500 in the account. Okay, go to the next one. All right, oh, this is the good stuff. This is the juicy stuff. What can you keep, right? This is what you want. You want to keep. You can keep a home is not considered an asset up to $585,000. Okay, of equity. Okay, so you can have a house up to $585,000, and that's not a countable resource. So you could have a $584,000 house and $1,000 in your account and qualify for Medicaid. Okay, now they have a rule. If mom's in a nursing home, mom or dad, and they don't intend to move home, Medicaid's going to make you sell the house. Okay, now all the rule is that mom or dad intends to move home. Okay? It isn't that they can move home, it's that they intend to. And so you always say, yeah, if I got better, I would want to move home, right? It'd be very foolish of you not to say that. But we have people that will send in the yearly thing when they send the form out. They say, well, of course, mom doesn't intend to. And then all of a sudden they send a letter to sell the house in. All right? Real property offered for sale is excluded. So a lot of people will own a piece of land somewhere, hunting land or something. Well, as long as you put it up for sale, we can exclude it. We have to show that it's listed in the MLS. Like we have a client right now. They have a piece of property up in Oklahoma. It got flooded out. We've put it up for sale, and we're allowed to exclude it because no one's coming by and buying it. Okay? Burial spots, irrevocable prepaid burial contracts. You can have it. So you can own one burial plot for yourself, one for your spouse, and you can also prepay for your burial as long as it's irrevocable. In other words, you can't get your money back. Automobile, okay? Now this is one. I had a girl come in last week. It's like, we've applied 5 times for Medicaid. My grandparents have nothing, and they literally didn't have any. They together made $1,000 in Social Security a month. They had no assets whatsoever. Their house is falling apart around them, and they need serious help, and they keep getting denied. Well, come to turn out, the daughter just went down and put her name on the automobile. And that's why they were being denied. Because if your name is on an automobile with your parent, it's no longer excluded. And no one told her the rule. So for a year, she'd been applying, and she goes, we meet all the requirements. And I go, you just didn't know one little rule. Do not put your name on a car with your fig. It's excluded as long as no one else's names are on it other than a married couple. Does that make sense? It's a really dumb rule too. And you see how difficult this is. There's always little dumb rules everywhere. Life insurance policy, if you can get more than $1,500 the cash surrender value. So if you can go to the insurance company and they will give you money for cashing it out. If it's more than $1,500, it's now a resource. If it's like a term life insurance policy, it's not considered a countable resource. Okay? So term policies are not, but usually a whole policy or a universal life policy is considered an asset, a resource. Household goods and personal effects. Okay, this does not include your, gold coins for the apocalypse, guys, all right? Okay, you can sell those and get money out, but jewelry is not included, okay? So if you have jewelry that you just wear, unless it's considered like an investment. Oh, yeah, I bought this piece of jewelry because I'm investing it. Well, that's an asset. But if you're just like your wedding ring, your jewelry, they're not going to make you sell those things. Things in the house, the government doesn't want your junk, all right? Okay? Silverware? No, they won't consider that because you're technically supposed to be using that for that. Now, if you were holding it as an investment and you were trying to be and you disclosed, oh, I really invest in these things, then of course they're going to make you sell it. Livestock, you don't need to sell your livestock. Go to the next page. Excluded business resources. Okay, so if you're running a business, all right, and I'm going to make sure I don't go over 9 o'clock. I have a rule. You don't waste people's time, okay? So if you are running a business and it's in your name and you have assets that produce you income, they're not going to consider it a resource, okay? So a rental property can be considered this as long as it's not in a partnership. This is weird. You can't own a rental property in a partnership or a corporation. But you can own it in an LLC that's all in your own name. Because what they do is they take the income that you're getting from it and they add that to your income. All right. So this is a weird rule. This rarely ever comes into effect. Once in a while, I have a person walk in that goes, oh, well, I have this weird thing that produces me income. Well, they don't want you to sell that because if it's producing you good income, that's going to help go pay the nursing home. So they don't make you sell those things. Go to the next one. Excluded resources. So here's really good ones. In the state of Texas, we have a really good IRAs or 401ks in an annuity are not considered a resource. Now, I was told by a bunch of other attorneys that went to the seminar that someone from Medicaid came out and said that it doesn't even have to be an annuity anymore if you're over 70 and a half, as long as you're taking your required minimum distributions. I wouldn't trust that because they didn't write it in the Medicaid manual yet. You never trust anything unless it's written in the Medicaid manual. But let's say you had $500,000 in an IRA and you need to go to a nursing home. You can take all that money and put it in an annuity and qualify for assistance. Only state in the union that does that is Texas. And you know what? I applaud Texas for this because they always tell us they follow the rules exactly how they are written. And that's exactly how the federal law is written. In federal law, they say if you purchase an annuity, this goes. Every other state says, yeah, it's an annuity if it produces income, like an income annuity. Income annuity is like a pension, you know. You give your money to an insurance company and they pay you every single month. Well, when the federal government wrote the law, they didn't say income annuities. They just said annuity. Well, they have a thing called a deferred annuity, which is you're getting no income from it. It's just like an investment account in an annuity. So you can even do that. So it's a way around the rule. I imagine one day Congress will get around and fix this little loophole, but right now it's an excluded resource. Go to the next one. UTMA accounts and educational savings accounts. So these are not granted under the federal law. The state of Texas just lets you do this. So let's say you have $20,000 left to your name. You want to qualify for Medicaid. You have a grandson that is going to go to college here a little bit. You can just put it in an UTMA or educational savings plan and qualify for Medicaid. The reason why they look at that is like if you're going to give your money to help your kid go to school, then fine. Yeah, we'll let you do that. But that's not federally granted. That is the state of Texas. So that rule can be changed at any time. So they could just say, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Okay? Next one. All right. Anybody like brain dead yet? I feel like I'm brain dead. And I'm just, okay. Medicaid spousal impoverishment rules. We don't want the spouse to be impoverished. Okay? And I'll get a little bit into this in just a second. Go to the next slide. Okay. Income of a community spouse. So I have a family member that her husband is 66 years old and will be in a nursing home for the rest of his life. She's much younger at 54. All right? She's in a serious problem because they've run out of money. So we're applying for him to get on Medicaid. He's going to get on Medicaid. But he's on Medicaid. She has a whole lot. They don't have any resources left. All right? So the government has allowed us to shelter some things for her. One is she can go get a job, and what she earns is her money. The government is not going to take it from her because they don't want her to be impoverished. Does that make sense? So we call it the name on the check rule. So whoever earns the income, it is their income. So you can have one of you make $10,000 a month income. The other one only makes like $800. But the one who gets the $10,000 a month can spend all their money and qualify, and the other one can qualify. The other spouse can qualify for Medicaid because they just look at the income, the name on the check. Whose name is on the check? That's your income. So you don't include your spouse's income into your income. Well, that's kind of true under certain situations. Okay, but I don't want to worry you with all that. The minimum monthly maintenance needs allowance, MMMNA. It's another really confusing acronym there. Okay, so this is the weird situation. In my family member's example, she She doesn't work. She's never worked. He worked. Okay? So the government goes, you know what? He's getting Social Security. We'll let you take up to $3,160.50 of his income every month. So now, if she goes earns income, they decrease the amount. This is the max you can get. But you can take from your spouse. You and your spouse together, you get up to $3,160 a month. Because we don't want whoever's living in the community, we call them the community spouse, to be impoverished. Does that make sense? All right. Next one, the spousal protection resource amount. Okay, these are how much resources. We talked about income. Now, how much resources can you have? Well, we already talked about this. You can have up to $25,000. The max is $126,000. But how do we calculate this? I don't understand the difference between minimum and maximum. That makes no sense. Well, let's use the example to make sure we understand. Let's say you have $200,000 to your name. Okay? SEPRA is going to say you take that $200,000 and half of that goes to the community spouse, whoever's living outside the nursing home. The other $100,000 goes to the spouse that's living in the nursing home. They take a snapshot. So when that spouse goes into the facility, they look at it and go, okay, now you'll have to spend down the institutionalized spouse below $2,000. But the community spouse can keep their $100,000. And they can actually earn money and put more money into their account. So if all of a sudden the community spouse, like my family member, she's only 54. Let's say she went and got a great job and she was making $300,000 a year. They're not going to penalize her for it. She can save as much as she wants. Okay? She can go out and earn that and put it in her savings account because it's no longer considered part. Okay? Does that make sense? Go to the next one because we're just trying. Expanded SEPRA. Oh, I didn't put it up here. Go back. Expanded SEPRA, it's very confusing, but basically I told you you could only get up to $126,000, right? I lied. You can then get more than that if you're really, really impoverished. So if your income is really low, we can do a thing called expanded SEPRA. So I could take that $126,000 and sometimes include it to be millions of dollars. Because some people, they're really good at saving. They saved a bunch of money, but they really didn't make enough income, meaning their Social Security is really low. Well, the government doesn't want to punish you because you saved really well, but have low income. So they allow you to expand SEPRA if you have really low income, okay? It's below the MMMNA, right? Okay, next one. How to plan to protect resources. Okay, this is what all the kids are really happy about when they come see. My mom needs to go into a nursing home. How do I get her money? And it's like they always say. I know everybody gets like that. That is terrible, but it's kind of the reaction. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people want to help their parents, but they're really excited to learn that they can actually inherit some money too. All right, go to the next one. Okay, so a lot of times when I talk to people, we're going to spend the money in order to qualify, right? Pay for the nursing home. Start paying. A lot of people, I get a lot of people that come in and they go, I've been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's. The doctors told me to get things there. I tell them, now it's time to spend your money. Go on the dream vacation you wanted to do your whole life, right? The things that you wanted to do, that money that you were saving and you're holding on to. It's better now to be poor than rich because either it's going to go to the nursing home or you're going to enjoy your money for a little time. Okay, so I tell you should go on your dream vacation. You should purchase any services that you're needing, but be very careful. Don't do this with your own family. Okay? Any equipment that you need. If I was diagnosed with something and said, hey, you're going to be in a nursing home for the rest of your life, I'm going to buy me the best freaking cell phone ever because I'm going to want to at least have some devices. You could pay your debts if you want to. Don't know why you would, but I usually tell other people to do the opposite. Like this client come in and is like, I have my credit card. I'm like, why would you pay that now? It's like, let the credit card company. It's like, you're going to go in a nursing home, let them eat it. Spend money on a primary residence, okay? That's a spend down strategy. A lot of people go, well, why don't you get your kid and you together and you guys go buy a house and live together and keep you out of the nursing home as long as we can? You can do that. You can repair your home. You can pay down on your mortgage. You can go buy a Tesla if you wanted to. Okay? You can buy certain cash value life insurance policies. Okay? Burial plots. Household goods, prepayment. You can prepay the nursing home. A lot of times we go to nursing homes and go, hey, we're going to make a deal with you. Mom has enough to pay for the next year. We're going to pay you for the next year, and then you're going to guarantee that she gets a Medicaid bed if she's going to live longer than that because she wants to be in this facility. It's a great strategy. You guarantee you get in the facility that you want, and you make a contract with them that they can't kick you out after the year, that they're going to take Medicaid after that. A lot of facilities will take that deal. They actually have, a lot of them have that where you like buy into the nursing home. Go to the next one. All right, the state has what are called self-settled trust, okay? The states have created these pool trusts that if you want to, just to have some extra money, and this is a very sad reality, when you run out of money in a nursing home and the government starts paying for your care, you get $60 a month. That's it. That's all you get of your own money. That is a sad existence, especially if you have no family. The saddest people you will find are people in the nursing home with no family getting $60 a month. That is a horrible existence to be in. When I got out of law school, did criminal defense work. And I had to go up to Collin County Jail every week. And I went to the Collin County Jail, Now, I mostly deal with estate planning and elder law. And I go to nursing homes. The Collin County Jail is better than some Medicaid facilities around here. I would rather go commit a crime and go to the Collin County Jail than go to a nursing home. That is sad. But that's what the reality of your life. So if you want to, and if you had to go into nursing, and I tell people, if you only have like $10,000, just take $10,000, go put it in the pooled self-needs. It's called the Arc of Texas. Then if you need extra money, you can go and get it from there. Now, the hard part about this is the state of Texas is the beneficiary of that. So if you don't spend the money, the state of Texas gets it. Okay? And you can't use the money for whatever you want. There are restrictions. Go to the next slide. Gifting strategy. Now, if every one of you should know this, if you give away your money and try to qualify for Medicaid, you get penalized for that. Okay? There's a penalty. We have a 5-year, 60-month look-back period. So anything that you gave in the last 5 years, Medicaid's going to sift through and find. And they're going to penalize you $172 a day. Okay? Now, here's the other thing that's really, really hard that you have to be very sneaky about. The look-back period does not begin until you enter into a nursing home. Okay? So they don't go, oh, so you have to plan if you're going to do any kind of gifting strategy that you don't end up in a nursing home and then apply before your 5 years is up because they'll include it in. They'll include the whole amount. They'll go, oh, you gave $300,000 away 5 years ago or 4 years ago and 200 days. We include the whole amount. Now you got penalized for a whole bunch of time. So you got to be very careful about that. Okay? They don't start it till you go into the nursing home and apply for Medicaid benefits. Okay, you cannot gift with the intent to qualify for Medicaid. That's a very, very interesting rule. How you get around that. Okay? You can't just say, well, I'm going to just give everything away to qualify. You have to actually have different reasons why you're doing it. Okay, go to the next one. Annuity strategies. Annuities are not considered assets, right? So, if you have an employment-related annuity, that is called a pension. Most people don't know your pension is an annuity. Okay? Retirement-related annuities, there are things that are not included. That's your IRA annuities and stuff like that. All other compliant annuities. So, there are strategies that we do where you have a bunch of resources and you want to make sure your spouse is taken care of. You know you're going to end up going to a nursing home. You can go and buy an annuity and have, as long as the income is going to your spouse, as long as you put the state of Texas as the beneficiary, they'll let you do this. So a lot of people, that's their biggest concern. It's like, I'm going to end up in a nursing facility. I want to make sure my wife is taken care of. You go buy an annuity. They'll pay the income to your spouse. It's okay, but the state of Texas is going to have to be the beneficiary.
Can you do it right before you go into nursing home, or does it have to be 5 years? Is it part of
No, you can do it immediately right when you're going to a nursing home. Okay, go to the next one. IRAs or 401ks, annuity strategies. We already talked about this. Go ahead and go to half a loaf strategy. So, an attorney, really smart guy up in New York, he just did the math one day and figured out, hey, the gifting penalty plus what my client is earning every month and the cost of nursing home, if I take that penalty, I can give about half of the money to my client's children, buy an annuity with the other half that pays the nursing home, and qualify my client immediately for Medicaid benefits, but subject them to a penalty period. And they call this the half a loaf strategy. So still used today. And basically what you do is you give half your money to whoever you want to. Maybe it's your kids, maybe it's somebody else. You take the other half and buy an annuity that pays for your care for the penalty period. And then you qualify for Medicaid benefits. It's a way, at least leaving something to your kids. It's not everything, but you can leave something to them. Okay, next one. Primary residence strategy. Okay, so you can own a home. This is the most common used technique for Medicaid planning because you can shelter up to $585,000. So purchasing home is a big thing. You keep your home. That's one of the big things that we tell people. Don't sell your house, because you sell the house, then you got to spend on the money, unless that's the strategy that you want to do. Because that's one of my key things I try to explain to my clients. It's like, this is mom and dad's money. If they want to spend every bit of it on their own care, you should spend every bit of it on their own care. If mom or dad can't speak to me, someone's using a power of attorney, I'm sitting down and going, hey, we need to spend mom and dad's money on their care, because mom and dad can't communicate that they want you to protect these assets unless they wrote down something or explained that to you. You got to be very careful using a power of attorney to benefit yourself. There's laws against that. Okay, now there's a bunch of issues when you rent out a primary residence. Okay, there's a bunch of different strategies that have to be used to make that legal. Be very careful if mom or dad are in a nursing home and you're renting out the house, because if you rent out mom and dad's house and you make income, they'll consider that Medicaid fraud, and they will come and arrest you. I had a client call going, Medicaid, they were calling me asking about the money I'm making off of renting mom and dad's home. I don't understand. I'm like, yeah, that's a prosecutor, and they're investigating you right now, and you should call a criminal law attorney, not an elder law attorney. Okay? All right, go to the next one. 5-year trust. This is a very common strategy. You have to kind of pre-plan this out. Some people, they sit down and they go, here's the reality of my life. I don't like spending money. I have $2 million, and I just don't like spending my money. And you know what? I want my kids to get something. And so they take all their money and they give it to a child. That child then creates a trust for their parents to do whatever they want, and it gets out of their state with the knowledge that they have that 5 years from now, it's no longer going to be a part of their estate. Okay? So it gets it out of everything. So it's very common to do these types. We have a lot of people that do strategies of, well, I'm going into a nursing home. When I add up the cost, I have $1 million. I'm going to pay for my own care for the next 5 years. But then I want everything else, whatever it may be, $500,000, to go to my kids at that point. So there's a lot of people who strategize that. They call these 5-year trusts. If you have dementia, you have Alzheimer's, you're going to end up in a facility and you want your kids to get something. Usually if you pay for 5 years of your care, of course, you're probably going to pass away in that time if you're diagnosed with one of those things and you're significantly older. So usually people do these kind of strategies. But there have been a lot of clients that I've had. I had a client come in a couple weeks ago, and they had set this up like 7 years ago with a state planning attorney in Illinois. And the idea was mom and dad, mom was the one that was left. Mom wanted about $700,000 to go to her kids. So they set up the 5-year trust. And then the kids inherited the money, and now mom's on Medicaid, even though she had almost $1 million. But she paid for her care for 5 years, though. All right. Big thing, go back. You can't pre-plan 5-year trusts. In other words, when you give your money to your kid and you know that you can end up on Medicaid, the kid has to come into my office after you've given the money to create the trust. I can't create the trust first and then do the gift because they consider that Medicaid fraud. Okay? Go to the next one. Okay, you can pay a family member as a caregiver, or you can get paid. So you're taking care of mom or dad. Medicaid will pay you to keep them out of a nursing home. Now, go to the next slide. Okay, yes, you can do this. It's called Texas Star Plus Waiver has a program through Consumer Direct Care. Now, you cannot make more than $2,313. Okay, so and you can pick anybody. So let's say you had a neighbor that you're always taking care of, and you want to help out, but you also want to make some money. Well, if because of your service they can stay out of a nursing facility, the state's more than willing to pay you to help take care of them. But you have to do it through this. You can't, once again, they can't have countable assets over $2,000. They cannot use a qualified income trust. You can't make more than $2,313. But if that's the case, there are programs where they will pay you to take care of your neighbor. They'll pay you to take care of a family member, whatever it may be. Community First Choice Program, this is a different one, but you have significantly lower income. And we have some other, and then we already talked about the VA assistance by doing the family caregiver agreement. You lower the income, you pay your kid to take care of you, and they won't consider that a part of your income. All right, next one. All right, so I'm going to do a summary. Whew, that was painful. I hope somebody remembered something from this whole thing. Okay, Medicare, it covers a limited amount. Medicare is not going to cover you for a long-term care. That's what long-term care insurance was for. Medicaid is what you're going to have to rely on. But the rules are very difficult. You have spend down, you have gifting strategies, you have the half a loaf for a 5-year term. There's different things you can do to get resources out of your name. VA benefits. The VA has benefits. The VA will do most of the work for you when you apply, except for the family caregiver agreement. If you're going to use that strategy, then you should talk to, they have a bunch of VA help centers. You can type in VA help centers, and there's a lot of people that do this as charitable work.
Can you do that through the VA, the family health care?
No, they will not tell you about it.
Well, let me see my question.
Okay.
If it's not a veteran, it's spouse of a veteran, but he was not wartime.
So he didn't serve during a wartime?
No.
Okay, then he doesn't get a VA benefit. That's one of the eligibility requirements. Yeah, it's one of them. Yeah. So dad did not serve during a wartime?
He missed the Korean War by 3 months.
Oh, shoot, yeah. No.
And so, but the VA somebody told me that she couldn't get the spousal benefit, monthly benefit, but that there were other things that she could get.
There might be other things that I just don't know about.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can get paid. So there are some different strategies. There's different things that you can do. All right? I'll go to the next one. I think that should be it. All right. Okay. Now, let's make sure. We are technically done. We have 10 minutes left. You can leave if you want to. If not, if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask it right now. But if not, we can just go. I hope I didn't think. Now, everything I just went over, we're video recording this, and so we'll put it up. If you signed on our thing, we'll email you out places that you can find it. If you want to buy my book, this one goes over all the things that we just talked about today. And then I think that's pretty much it. Anyone have a question? And I want you guys to understand we went over a ton of stuff. There's no dumb question right now, because the first time I went and learned about Medicaid benefits and stuff, I was so confused. I was like, what the heck is this guy talking about?
I'm curious, the National Guard, and that was during the Vietnam era. And I'm wondering about the paperwork you said you had to have to prove that.
Yeah, what's that form called?
DD 214.
DD 240. I think the National Guard has a different one. Is that right?
Probably.
I think it's a different one. But you just need the form that says you were honorably discharged. If you were in the National Guard, as long as you weren't in one of the sinners that were burned down. That's what we always hear. Then you should be able to get it from the military. But they need to see that you were honorably discharged. That's the question that they have. Okay?
I have no idea where that went, so how would that get a duplicate?
You can get it from the.
I went through this, there's a service, and it's called Patriot Angels, I think.
Yes, Patriot Angels does a lot of help.
And you give them all the information you got, and they'll put on a search, and they found my dad's DD 214.
It's still a DD 214.
It is? Okay.
But he was Army. That's what this was called.
Yeah.
It was like
To start
$80.
VA benefits, is it best to go directly to, physically go to a VA?
No, I would go to one.
Their website is useless.
Yes. Go to a help center like Patriot Angels, because they're going to have expert people that are way better than I am, that are going to go, okay, look, this is what you can do. These are all the different things you can do to get on this, and then go to the VA. Okay? You go to the VA first. They're not going to tell you about the family care. They're not going to do any of that for you. Because, okay, go ahead.
I have several, but I'll just start with one.
Okay.
My parents are in Arkansas.
Okay.
We're wondering if we should move them to Texas or if we should set up care for them in Arkansas.
So there's two things I want you to kind of think about. One is there some family member up there that's helping them?
I'm in.
Okay, so probably it's going to be best they're here, because when they're in a facility, for you to actually go and watch. I have an aunt, I have an uncle that have been in a nursing home, and if you're not there watching them, especially if they're in a Medicaid facility because they ran out of money.
We don't want them to go into a nursing home. That's why I was intrigued by taking care of them at home.
Yes, you could.
Help and get support for that.
It's very common that people will move here and then they'll buy. A lot of times people buy a bigger home to fit everybody, and then there's strategies we can do to get them qualified for in-home assistance, and they get the government to have you take care of them. But don't assume that they're going to let you take care of them, because if Medicaid comes in and they look at your mom and she needs like a licensed nurse to help her, they're going to go, do you have a license? And you say no. They're going to go, okay, we're going to pay for a licensed nurse to come in, but that's because your mom needs that. So you got to be very careful. A lot of people want to help their parents, but if Medicaid says they need more advanced care than you can offer, they'll pay for that person to come in and take care of them. They'll be very appreciative that you're there and that you're keeping them out of a nursing home. So they're more than willing to work with you guys on that, but you gotta understand what those situations are. You don't want to, but yeah, you don't. If that's the case, then yeah, move them here, but you don't want them to be in a facility by themselves unless you're going to be driving up there every week.
My piggyback question to that was, you said not to put your name on an automobile if
Yes.
you own, but if we're sharing a house or if
That-
we buy a house together.
They just need to own more than 50% of the house. 50% or more. They have to have 50% more of equity in the house. Okay? So there are different strategies we have to do at different times. Like I have one client, they have a $600,000 home. Mom has like $100,000. So we had to refinance the house in order for her to buy at least 50% to qualify. Okay? Next question. You said you have one more?
Let someone else.
Okay. Okay.
Regarding the automobiles, you're only allowed one vehicle
Per person.
per person. So I have a car and a truck, so that would be okay.
If you
I
ha-
don't know if I need to put the truck in my son's name or,
Yeah. No, if you give it to your son, it's a gift. And they'll penalize you.
so just leave it as it is.
Leave it in your guys' names, okay? Yeah. You can do what are called transfer on death of motor vehicles. Now, I didn't get into a lot of the things about Medicaid estate recovery program. Like, yeah, you're allowed to have a house. But that's because Medicaid's going to take a lien against that house. So after you pass away, they get paid back. Now, there's a way to avoid the Medicaid lien. We call that a ladybird deed or a transfer on death deed. You've heard about that before. But there's a lot of different things that go on in this, little tricks that are being played. You got to be very careful. That's why you talk to an elder law attorney. You do not assume that this is going to be an easy, I'll just figure this out. I'll go on Google and I'll read some stuff. You know, I even have attorneys that call me and go, I think I screwed something up. You know, and they just didn't go through. You got to read the Medicaid manual. So, because you can't go to law school and they teach you about this. The only way you learn about this is that You actually go and read the Medicaid manual itself. That's how you learn about this. Any other questions? All right, guys. Okay, you get your. Is this your last one?
You in passing mentioned that you could also care for neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm currently taking care of 3 widows in my
Okay.
neighborhood. But there's an option to get reimbursed for that?
No, you don't get reimbursed. Okay, but you could get paid in the future if they qualify. They might not be able to qualify for any.
If they own their homes.
Well, they own their home. That's okay. That's not a countable resource. But they might make too much money if they make more than $2,313 a month. Okay, or if they have other resources that could come up and over. But yeah, I'd have to go through their actual situation and determine. But yeah, if they have a whole program that Consumer Direct Services, they hire somebody. They get a pay. They have a whole program that they'll walk you through. But they basically get a payroll company that pays, and that company would pay you to come in, check up on them, make sure they're okay. And then you keep track of your time that you actually do it. And then submit it to Medicaid, yeah. But if you can keep people out of nursing homes, they'll love you. They'll pay you. You know, the government wants you to keep people out of nursing homes. If you can keep them healthy.
So, but a spouse can't take care of the other spouse, even if that spouse is a nurse.
Cannot do that. They will not allow the spouse that children, yes, but not spouses.
What if their income is like 2,400, but then they take
Yeah.
their,
So I can't take care of you.
their health care out of their check?
Nope. It's a hard, fast, gross rule. So we have people. If you make 2,314, because they will look at like all your taxes, taken out, everything. They'll add it all up, and they go, nope, you're disqualified. Now you can do the qualified income trust and go into a nursing home and be just fine. And there are other programs that they can get, but they cannot get the Consumer Direct one that where you get paid to take care of them. They just made a hard, fast rule on that one.
Can they get home health care?
Yeah, there are some home health care programs they can get on. Family care, I believe Family Care allows you to use a qualified income trust. I actually could be wrong about that. I can't remember. But they have Family Care. That's a program that's available.
Who do you talk to?
You have to apply for Medicaid.
Oh, okay, all right.
All those programs, how it works is you apply, they send out somebody, they determine the programs you're eligible for, and then you get them. All right. Anything else? All right, guys, we are out of here 2 minutes early.
Thank you.
All right.